Welcome to GlobeWatch 2022, and this is the pioneer edition for the year. At least $23 trillion, that is the global market space of the online world in particular. An online world which equally increasingly increases its space for rentals, especially for apartments, quite from the traditional hospitality establishment, which has to do with hotels. There are newcomers in the business, including Booking.com, but more particularly giants of the world, such as Airbnb, based in California in the United States of America, continue to inspire a generation which is increasingly becoming based virtually. What does that market look like in Africa, especially for young startups at a time where COVID-19 has redefined the dynamics of the global trade space? My guest today is one of the emerging leaders of the online business in Africa, which increasingly will determine Africa's future billionaires. Do they really have the resources to engage in their business? Minifong Ebafreth, thank you very much indeed for being guest on GlobeWatch, and Happy New Year 2022.
Happy New Year to you, Charles, and it's a wonderful pleasure for me to be on your show. It's a great pleasure indeed.
Well, you travel right away from Rwanda for us to meet here to discuss as first guest of the year. The rental business, which is gradually becoming online one, has huge potential. Airbnb, which is the boss in the business, has assets of roughly $10 billion. What gave you instincts for such a business interest?
Thank you very much for such a, an intriguing question. So basically, your facts are very correct. And when I look back at 2018, when I had the idea of transforming the already existing bungalow into a booking or travel accommodation platform, it was mainly pushed by the the request from several travelers that I met in Rwanda who had, used my apartment. They put forward the need of not having a platform that they could make payments really flexibly or conveniently. And when I looked at Airbnb, which is a platform that I had used myself while I was in Israel in 2016, and also I've used a couple countries across Africa that I visited, I realized that there was a lack of the African touch to a context that is really very, customized to the African market. So I saw the need in that space, and I saw that these people are doing something great. They've already built a concept. They've already, become a global company. But when it comes to the African market, they have not really captured it entirely. People are still struggling with payout methods. I mean, like how they receive money from this company because of several remittance issues.
When you say that the online rental business, especially in Africa, which increasingly is moving online, as you and I talk, out of the roughly 1.3 billion people on the continent, roughly 500 million of them are already connected to the mobile phone, which is larger than even the European figure. When you say you needed an African touch, what was lacking in the African online rental business that you think Airbnb did not offer, that you think that Booking.com did not offer?
So looking at these two platforms that you just mentioned, these are platforms that are originally built to serve the Western market, in the sense of their payment methods, the way they collect money from users, the way they remit money to host property owners that put up their properties on this platform. When you look at the methods that they do, they perform these different activities, the African market is not yet suitable for that. And then also there is an issue of building trust between people who own homes and allowing others to come stay there. Okay, the concept of Airbnb is quite different from that of, Booking.com, because Booking.com focuses on hotels and large apartments, but Airbnb focuses on home sharing. Basically, it started as a home sharing platform. So when you look at Africa, we have in Africa the mobile wallet payments that has really penetrated the continent. In Kenya, over 73% of the country uses M-Pesa, their own type of mobile money, which is the same concept. In Cameroon, you see the penetration of mobile money growing as well as in Uganda, in Rwanda, and so many other African countries that you can name. So once we look at this, we realize that if you could do a similar thing like Airbnb or Booking.com, but rather include the payout methods and the payment methods for different travelers on the platform, it could be something that would be appreciated. And with our intuition and research, we weren't wrong. We came to be proven right, and over 86% of payments that have been made on our platform so far have been made through mobile money. And once we remit host through mobile wallet disbursements as well, they are super excited, and it almost cleans out every cost for them in exchange rate fees, and also in fees for paying of transfers. So once we do this, it shows that truly we are addressing the need of the African host.
Here is a question. You are living in a well-structured community, hotels or part of the hospitality establishment around the world is where people know that when you leave one destination to another, you should be living. I just wonder how a less than 30-year-old like you will be more interested in doing a business which encourages people to stay in homes, apartments. What is intriguing about it? What does that offer that traditional hotels may not offer?
So truly, to begin with, I'm more than 30. So also to clarify on that point, I didn't just want to do a business that, connects people from one place to the other, but I wanted to give people convenience, more space, more convenience. If I book a one-bedroom apartment or a two-bedroom apartment, I have access to a kitchen, an equipped kitchen. I have access to an equipped room, and I have access to an equipped living room, and maybe a balcony, and so many other amenities that hotels do not offer. But once you compare the price of a standard room in a hotel and the price of this apartment that I pay for, you realize that the price is rather the apartment that I pay for is way affordable than a standard hotel room. So that alone is a lot of convenience, a lot of space for travelers, maybe traveling on a budget. And then also, in addition to that, you get to see that you get connected with the local community once you stay at apartments other than just confining yourself to hotels. So once you're in hotels, the only people you talk to are the hotel staff. Travel is cool, and with my travel across the African continent and as well as out of Africa, I get to interact with a lot of different minds. But this was mainly because I'm not confining myself to hotels.
The idea of Bungalow, which you operate as an online renting platform, which today operates from your headquarters in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, virtually, you don't see most of your workers even all the time, or maybe some of them you have never seen them physically. I saw you posting a few days ago that after years of working together, this is the first time you are seeing one of your collaborators physically. If somebody wants to exploit Bungalow, which was born in a small village in Bamenda, Cameroon, how does that operate?
Basically, Bungalow is accessible right on the internet. So you just need to go on www.bungalow.co, and you can access every single apartment that is listed in either Kigali, Rubavu in Rwanda, or Cameroon, starting from Douala, Yaoundé, Buea, Limbe, and Sonkribi, and other towns of the country. So you just need internet connection, a smartphone, or a laptop or a computer that you can be able to access the internet with. So basically, we, like you rightly said, we operate mostly virtually because we have workers even in Nigeria. I have staff in Nigeria, as well as staff in the UK and Cameroon and Rwanda. So actually we have staff in 4 countries already. So we sit behind the computers and we engineer this platform that helps you to, you know, find affordable homes as you travel around the continent.
Can I have data on people you have had homes? What does your company statistics reveal in terms of leverage already?
So as a matter of fact, we have over 200 properties listed across Kigali to Cameroon and other cities in Cameroon as well. And we have had over 150 who sign up. You need to note that we just really entering the market, so we are still young, but we are really ambitious, and before the end of 2022 we should be in at least 5 African countries.
Go ahead.
We are currently in 2 African countries operating fully. This means we can pay hosts in those countries, we can receive, people can make bookings in those countries on our platform, anywhere in the cities where we already operate.
What you just said a while ago, that you are quite ambitious, and possibly that is how Google came in through a competition which was organized, a challenge, and you were just recently given a package of roughly $320,000 in cash and material that should translate nearly 200 million francs CFA. What are you doing with that money?
That's a very interesting question. So even before we got the money is good, so to begin with, but the very most important thing about it is the credibility that comes with the money. We are an online travel accommodation platform, and for you to step on our website and book a place to stay, you need to be sure that these are not some group of scammers that are trying to extort my money, and these apartments really exist and they are not fake and all of that. So to build that trust, we need endorsements like Google, endorsements like me speaking on GlobeWatch, because this is already a lot of endorsements as well. So the money aside, I'm just trying to point out to you that all of such endorsement builds credibility for us, and a company like Google that is well known across the world. Our name is on Google
the world's
website.
First search engine.
Exactly. So now coming to the money part, money is quite important for every young startup on the continent. You will hear people crying every day that without funding their businesses die and all of that. That's what we've been facing for the past couple of years, because we were mainly operating on friends and family funding and personal finances as well. So with Google investing such an amount of money in our company, not investing literally, it's an award. So we are investing in our human resource. So we use part of this money to acquire more staff for our company who are able to execute and lead for us to achieve the goals and milestones that we set for each quarter or each year that we stepping into. That's number one. Number two, we're investing into marketing. So we're throwing a lot of ads out there, and also Google gives us also ad grants that we can use to, you know, do search ads, text ads on their platform. So we're putting in ads out there. We you know, spending this money to bring more awareness to our business, and also to, you know, build that brand recognition that we really need for people to step on and use our platform. So these are just some of the expenses that we are incurring, and you know as well, we try to increase our revenue through these processes. So if we are able to get great brand recognition, acquire more users, get more marketing out there, we could possibly be making revenue to increase. So
one of the criticisms of startups in Africa, especially in the online world where you are operating, is that most of them suffer from issues of transparency, good governance. When you go to Airbnb, for example, which is your inspirational model, you will see the listing of their endings annual budget, roughly $4.5 billion, total assets $10.6 billion, and that can go on. How do you make your data available for the public to know that you are out for business, or it's simply a family business like others, and you keep you keep the turnover for yourself?
No, not at all. So at the moment, we don't have a lot of data in that regard. But as soon as it becomes available, we are definitely going to put it out there. We will have obviously a section on our website for investors relations or media that has all of this information that would be listed. So at the moment, we're not putting out a lot of data just because we don't have so much of it at the moment. But we are very transparent when it comes to our communication with our host. The different, because hosts are our partners, the different properties owners that put their property on our platform. And every single fee that we collect, we make it known to either the traveler who is a guest or the host who is a property owner. So yeah, we're working on making sure our data are all published once they are available.
Rwanda is considered like, and Kigali in particular, like the tech hub of Africa, Smart Africa, with Lassina Kone all operates from there, just like Youth Connect Africa and all others. It's true, the ecosystem in countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt is increasingly becoming buoyant online. Why will you leave Cameroon and run your business operation headquarters from Rwanda?
So just to be clear, Rwanda is a very beautiful place, and Cameroon is still my home, and it's where my placenta is buried. So Bongalo started here in Cameroon. So before we go to Rwanda, there are some considerations that were being made in terms of the penetration of the travel and tourism space in the country. And so if you look at statistics in 2018, over 218 million people, according to Jumia Travel, visited Rwanda for that year. So that's a lot of tourists in context, and capturing a percentage of those people who could be able to make reservations on Bongalo was such a wonderful opportunity. So we look at that, and then also looking at the transparency of the country, and as well as the position of the country in the media space. That is advantageous to us as a travel technology company that is looking to establish its roots and expand to several other African countries, because our goal is to be in all the 54 African countries.
I understand. In the moment, I will be talking about those who inspire you. But first of all, let's contextualize this interview. In 7 days from now, the next Africa Cup of Nations will be taking place in Cameroon, and of course delegations will come from 24 participating countries. First of all, others will come across the continent, others will come from Europe, America, and other parts of the world, Asia. How does someone use Bongalo to check where to sleep in Cameroon or to rent apartments?
That's a very interesting question. So basically, as I initially mentioned, to access Bongalo, you just need internet connection and a smartphone or a laptop or any other kind of computer.
The question is this: do you really have a mastery of the Cameroonian real estate business for apartments?
Absolutely, we do. So our biggest competitor at the moment in Cameroon is not Airbnb, it's rather Booking.com. So what we do to access and make reservation on our platform, that's why I was trying to give you the address. It's just to go on the internet and type our address, www.bongalo.co, and you're going to be able to find apartments in the different cities that you desire to stay at.
You indicated that you were in Israel in 2016, 2018, you were in other parts of Africa. You are one of the beneficiaries of the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program for Young Africans, with a seed capital of plus $100 million to develop thousands of entrepreneurs within a decade in Africa. Who is your best business model?
So I would say I don't have a best, but I have a list of them. But maybe the top one would be starting from Tony Elumelu, the Nigerian philanthropist and businessman, the founder of the UBA Bank Group, and also the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Foundation program. So he inspires me, and the model that he does business by impacting other people's lives, and also, you know, investing across the continent. His bank is in over 22 African countries, and also operates in the UK, in New York, and in the United States, as well as in France. So this is
to build this your future business empire. Did the 5,000 seed capital from the foundation, can it be attributed as part of the success story?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it was in the very early days of the initiation of this idea, and you know, as young entrepreneurs on the African continent, we face a lot of challenges dealing with personal self, and then also, you know, personal expenses, and then also financing the business. So if I could have such an amount of money that financed the business to a certain stage in the early days, it kept the momentum and it kept the spirit growing. So, but
Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, was with me here last year, and one of the statements he made is that if you want to become successful in business, especially for young entrepreneurs like you, is that you have to forget being rich first. That reputation and name matters for you to become like him. Are you working on that?
Absolutely, he's very correct, because what we've been doing over the past years have been trying to build this brand reputation and also my personal name in the space. I mean, when I walk down the street, some people call me Bongalo, some people call me hey Mr. Bongalo, and all of that. So I have.
And how do you feel?
I feel honored, because I have been you know, I have been recognized as someone who is committed to a particular business, and he's doing everything possible to make that a success and build a name that will scale across the entire continent.
What has been your greatest challenge in this business?
At the moment, I mean, generally our greatest challenge has been around financing the business, but at the moment it's not really just finance, but building a strong team that believes in the vision, because it's very hard to find people, especially we are not all business people who other people around. We're doing business the modern way of there's no boss, everyone has an idea or rather a contribution to make, and it's well appreciated. So building a team in this regard is really a big challenge across the continent. Finding strong talents that you know, are very committed, and you know, also very executioner to bringing ideas to life. It's kind of difficult for us, I mean, from experience. So that I would say that is a challenge at the moment. The market is ready, the product is ready, but having people who drive it out there, it needs time, from my experience, to bring this to fruition.
In this interview, I hardly quote President Biya in this program. But I can remember that in 2016, he said he wants a young generation of Cameroonians and Africans who are not passive followers of the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, Google. You should be one of his best examples that you are using the internet in a different manner that does not destroy society, right?
Absolutely. So I'm using the internet to impact people's lives through
Positively.
Yes, absolutely. Through when they travel, they get to use something I build. I'm so always filled with joy when I see reservations that happen on my platform, and I tell the team, I'm proud of you guys, we can do this, we can keep doing it, and we can move to other places.
This interview is taking place in an apartment you have rented,
Absolutely.
making it more practical.
Yes.
How do you think that in business you must really be practical for your empire to grow?
That is very correct. There's no objection to that. I rented this apartment through my platform, and it's comfortable, and it's way cheaper than a hotel, a standard hotel room. So I'm not saying hotels are out of business. Hotels are mainly for, you know, business travel. You know, your company structures everything for you. Just move out and then you go there. But if you want to travel on a personal trip, or it's something that you want more convenience and more connectivity to the environment, you should use Bungalow. You should book apartments. You should book places that gives you more space, more convenience, more amenities, and that is really much more affordable.
Finally, when you look at the Billionaires Club in the world. In 2035, your country of origin plans to be an emerging country. But let me put the question this way. In 10 years from now, do you want to be like which billionaire? Which billionaires club do you want to enter? The billionaires club of Aliko Dangote, the billionaires club of Alibaba, or the billionaires club of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk?
Well, I think that would be extreme to call Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and all the other big guys, maybe Brian Chesky of Airbnb, and all the other big guys that you can name. But maybe let's start across Africa. You can talk of Alue Agbola, the founder of Flutterwave in Nigeria. We can talk of the founders of Chipper Cash, all the guys, you know, creating unicorns.
That is how much in billion?
Africa.
How much billion do you want to be worth in about 10 years from now?
Oh, in 10 years, I should, and on the personal worth.
I don't know.
Or the company worth.
I don't know, but
my company in 5 years should be worth over $1 billion.
And then you personally?
Well, I wouldn't say my personal worth, because I might not know how much ownership I'll have in my company at the moment, at that time, and that will contribute to, you know, give the value of my personal worth. But maybe, hopefully, I should be worth over $1 billion. Hopefully.
And with that, we conclude the interview. The Chief Executive Officer of Bungalow, Minifong Ebafet, thank you very much indeed for being guest for GlobeWatch 2022, the Pioneer Edition. Do you have any statement for the Lions and the participating teams for AFCON? Are you a good follower of soccer?
Now, first, thank you very much for having me. I'm a very big fan of soccer, especially when it comes to Cameroon football. So I'm just praying that the Lions should bring back the team spirit of the 2000s when they beat Nigeria, and you know, and also when they made us proud in the Olympics and so many of such tournaments.
Thank you very much indeed for being there.
It's my pleasure, Charles. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.